CBS News political director and Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson is in Washington. So, John, looking at what happened after South Carolina here, a lot of people are asking, is Donald Trump unstoppable?
Well, he sure looks like it. I mean, think about all that he withstood to get a victory in South Carolina. He attacked George W. Bush, suggested he was asleep at the switch on 9/11 and that he lied in going into Iraq. He was booed in 2 consecutive debates. He took a month of battery from Ted Cruz, with whom he was having a consistent back and forth. And yet he was able to overcome all of that and win by 11 or so points in a state where Ted Cruz had every right to do better because of the conservative makeup of the electorate and the fact that 2/3 of the electorate there is self-identified evangelicals. So it looks like the question then becomes, how do you knock back Donald Trump? And it's not exactly clear how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, as you pointed out, he is winning despite controversy after controversy. And you asked him about his latest dust-up with the Pope. Let's take a listen to that.
Last week, when the Pope made his remarks questioning your Christianity, you said, quote, "No leader, especially a religious leader, should have the right to question another man's religion or faith." But just last week, you questioned Ted Cruz's Christianity several times in the course of the campaign. Might have even helped you win South Carolina. So why is it okay for you and not okay for the Pope?
No, I never questioned Ted's anything having to do with his religion. I just said, you can't lie and hold up a Bible, and you can't do that. You just can't do that. It's not appropriate. And I was tough on him in that because things were said about me that were not true. And Marco Rubio actually said that he lied, and I've never seen a politician say to another politician that he lied. I guess it happens, but what Marco actually gave me cover because he actually said the same thing, and he said it during the debate that he was lying. So I just said you can't say things which are lies and, you know, claim Christianity. You just can't do it. I just don't think it's good. I'm not questioning his Christianity. I just think it's inappropriate to hold up the Bible and lie.
John, is the lesson here that nothing at all will ever stick to Donald Trump? Not contradictions, not inconsistencies. Nothing at all seems to hurt Donald Trump.
I think that's a lesson, and he, of course, famously articulated that lesson when he said he could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and wouldn't lose any votes. That seems to be what's happening and what has happened. You do see within the exit polls some differentiation in the vote. In other words, voters who make up their mind early are very strong in the Trump column. Those who take a little bit longer to decide, they have gone to other candidates. So there are some voters, obviously, who have issues with Donald Trump. And the big question will be, now that the field is winnowing, when the voters who were with other candidates, when they split up, will they go all to Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz? Or will a few of them go to Marco Rubio, a few to Ted Cruz, and a few to Donald Trump? And if that's the case, if the latter is the case, and the votes that were going to other candidates disperse in that fashion, then Donald Trump is in good shape.
Let's talk about Marco Rubio. He took second last night. This morning, he told you he'll be better positioned as the field gets smaller, and we have some sound of that. Let's take a listen.
So as that 5 or 7 people continues to narrow down, I think it's going to make the race clearer and clearer. Of course, we still have to go out and earn that vote. And by the way, there are people supporting Donald Trump that we believe we can win over as well. If you're running to be president of the United States, you can't just tell people you're going to make America great again. I think you need to begin to explain exactly how you're going to do it policy-wise. We're not going to win a general election with a candidate that refuses to detail policy.
Given what we heard, John, from Senator Rubio there, but also given what we saw in some of the exit polling out of South Carolina, does policy really matter at this point when you're talking about capturing the imaginations, capturing the enthusiasm of voters out there who might still be making up their mind? Because certainly we haven't heard specifics on policy from Donald Trump.
Policy matters, but policy specifics may not matter. To the extent that people care about a candidate who will seal off the border as much as that's possible, deport the undocumented workers in the United States, and get the immigration system into some sort of shape, that's a policy question. And voters in the Republican race think Donald Trump can handle that policy. And they're not pressing him on whether he's going to build a wall on the border or have drones to do it or use infrared. They don't care at that level of specificity. So if Marco Rubio is right, he's going to have to explain why policy areas that haven't been discussed show a real liability for Donald Trump. On foreign policy, for example, when Marco Rubio says Donald Trump is confused about Vladimir Putin, that may be so, but there are going to be a number of Republican voters who think the policy they want to hear on national security, or Russia specifically, is they want to hear somebody who speaks with strength. So that doesn't have to do with whether you're going to put troops in Estonia or whether NATO needs to be bolder. That's going to be a kind of more gut level question and discussion about policy, and that's going to be awfully hard, a tough debate for Marco Rubio to win, because he's going to have to really prosecute that debate. He can't just raise the question and then sort of have people come to their conclusions on their own. He has to really go right into Trump's territory and make the case for why he would be a dangerous president. That suggests a real face-to-face confrontation, and the candidates who have tried those kinds of confrontations have not come out the winner.
Yeah, absolutely. John, I want to turn to Jeb Bush. Of course, he announced last night that he is suspending his campaign. Which candidates will that benefit going forward?
Well, in terms of voters, there weren't a whole lot of Jeb Bush voters out there, and certainly you would expect that the people who like Jeb Bush liked him as an alternative to Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. And so if Marco Rubio is filling that slot, and to a lesser degree John Kasich, you would expect those two to be the beneficiaries of the votes. Now, again, there aren't a whole heck of a lot of those votes. Where you might see some benefit, and Governor John Kasich mentioned he was already getting a little bit of support from the Bush supporters, is money. And a lot of the people who were part of the early fundraising juggernaut for Jeb Bush can now give more freely. And so for Marco Rubio and John Kasich, who need money to keep going, that's probably very good news.
Yeah. John, let's talk about the Democratic race. Bernie Sanders' momentum from New Hampshire has been halted by Hillary Clinton's win. What effect could that have on the Democratic primary in South Carolina?
Well, the momentum in terms of the Sanders and Clinton race is the reason that Nevada is important for Hillary Clinton is that Nevada is a part of a longer story that her campaign has been telling, and that most analysts who have looked at the future competitions have sort of been buying into. And the idea basically is that outside of Iowa and New Hampshire and Vermont, the electorate is a lot less white and a lot less liberal. And so it's not favorable territory for Bernie Sanders. He did well with Latino voters, beat Hillary Clinton in the exit polls among Latino voters in Nevada, but he was not able to do well at all with African-American voters in Nevada. He's having a lot of difficulty in South Carolina as well. So while he is doing better than people would have expected him to do, he's not solving his big problem. And so Nevada falls in line with a theory that sees a bunch of these states that are coming up all going to Hillary Clinton. So that's why it's more than just a single state victory. It ratifies, at least for the moment, a vision and a view of the rest of the contest that tends to be good for Hillary Clinton.
So at this point, is South Carolina Hillary Clinton's to lose in the primary there?
Oh, goodness, yes. I mean, it's not just Hillary Clinton's to lose, but she's expected to do so well there based on the polling and based on the hard groundwork that she's been doing in the African-American community. That it would, every expectation is that she will win by quite a lot there, double digits for sure. And I think the best shot for Bernie Sanders is a little bit like the situation for Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire, which is he's almost certain to lose the state, but he wants to try and shrink the margin a little bit to suggest that he's made some inroads into her territory.
Yeah, and Senator Sanders is sounding confident despite his loss last night. Let's listen to what he told you on your program today.
John, I'm talking to you from Columbia, South Carolina. We have a major rally this evening. We're not skipping over anything. But I think that after South Carolina, we have 11 states. We stand a good chance of winning a number of those states. We think we have a whole lot of momentum. You know, we lost yesterday in Nevada by 5 points. A month ago, we were 25 points behind. If you look at the national polls, those numbers are tightening up. In some cases, we're actually ahead nationally. So I think people around this country are responding to our message of a rigged economy, a corrupt campaign finance system, and a broken criminal justice system. I'm feeling quite good.
So, John, given his showing in Nevada with African-American voters, given the political landscape here coming up, how does Bernie Sanders need to adjust his strategy?
Well, there's not much he can do to adjust his strategy. He's trying to reach out to these groups. I think he's usually what you would do in a panic situation like this, and it is panic because he needs to reverse what are some pretty big number deficiencies. You would take on your opponent. You would go right at Hillary Clinton on her relationship with the African American community. He's not about to do that in any way, any significant way or sustained way. So it's difficult for Sanders to, in a short period of time, he may improve his lot, and he's already come quite a far way, but he needs to improve faster than the pace he's on now to be able to beat her in these coming contests handily.
All right, John Dickerson, thanks so much.
Thanks, Elaine.
We will, of course, have full coverage Tuesday of the Nevada Republican caucuses with full analysis all day and all night as the results come in. That's all day Tuesday on CBSN.